Hello everyone, my name is Jimmy and welcome to The Last Lap. In today's video we're going to be breaking down everything that happened from New Hampshire Motor Speedway from the NASCAR Cup Series. But before we hop into it, just want to remind you guys to hit that like button and subscribe button. We would greatly appreciate it if you did so. But without further ado, let's go ahead and hop straight into it. As always, I have my friend and co-host Matthew joining me on the show, who is a little bit sick right now, so thanks to you for being a trooper and being willing to record this episode after the race. But Matthew, how you feel about everything you saw this weekend from New Hampshire?
Well, I'm actually feeling a lot better right now, so thanks. But yeah, I thought this was a great race that we watched today. And before we get started, every time we get a new diecast, we always gotta show it out. And for me, I got Kyle Busch's Atlanta win from last year in the Xfinity Series. As we know, this was his final Xfinity win of his career. 102 wins in the extra paint scheme, which I'm surprised he hasn't even races in the Cup Series yet. And it looks cool on the Xfinity body. So that's my new addition to the collection. And yeah, I'm going to need some more. I need another shelf because I got some on the floor right here because I'm running out of room.
Yeah, I'll show you guys my new one in a few weeks because it actually has to do with the track that I'm going to in a few weeks. But if you can see it, it's over there on the shelf. But yeah, it's in 2 weeks. So
Come on,
man.
I'll you gotta show it
since it's
what
for
you
that.
get.
Well, it's for that race though, so I want to. It's from that race last year, so I want to save it for that race week to show it off. But anyways, we're gonna go ahead and hop into the race review for the Cup Series race. The Xfinity Series race, I swear it was like a super speedway race with all the wrecks, and there were a lot of big crashes in the Xfinity race at New Hampshire. But yeah, onto the Cup Series recap. So there was a big crash early on in the race. Alex Bowman got into an incident with Ty Dillon, B.J. McLeod, and Josh Bilicki. He didn't have a great qualifying run, so that made him stuck back in the field and ended up getting involved in somebody else's mess. So that was an unfortunate start to his day. In the first stage, that would go to Martin Truex Jr. He started on the pole, jumped out to the lead. Didn't seem like anybody could touch him almost all day. But he would win the first stage, and Kyle Busch and Chase Briscoe, they couldn't make their way through the field, even though I think they were both top 3 in practice on Friday or Saturday, I believe. So they didn't qualify the best, and they couldn't really make their way up to the field. So that was one thing I took away from the first stage. Right after that, though, when the second stage begun, Mr. Kyle Busch ended up spinning off of turn 2 on the restart. And then after that, there was another pretty big size incident with Corey LaJoie, Harrison Burton, and Michael McDowell in turns 1 and 2. Ryan Blaney, he ended up spinning out, getting damage. Eric Almirola, he went to the garage for some type of mechanical issue. I think he only had third gear or something like that. So he went to the garage, which is a very tough break for him because it looked like he had a pretty good car today and could have contended for a top 5 or top 10 finish. And then Mr. Kyle Busch spun again. So for all those Chase Elliott self-spin memes, those can quit now after what happened today with Mr. Kyle Busch, and I believe somebody else did it a few weeks ago too.
Those are still some of the funniest things I've ever watched.
Well, they can stop now because my driver has 3 wins this year, and could have more than that. So
you mean you had to put Corey LaJoie in the wall to win?
3 wins. That's all I'm gonna say. But anyways, moving on past the 2 Kyle Busch self spins, there was a weird incident between Austin Dillon and Brad Keselowski. I think it was during that caution Kyle Busch spun out, or there was some type of caution, and Austin Dillon kind of came up to Brad Keselowski and door slammed him a little bit, and then Brad Keselowski came right back down the track and door slammed Austin Dillon right back a lot harder. They both had a lot of damage to their race cars. Nobody really knew what happened on the racetrack, but there was that incident back in Michigan in 2020, I believe, where Brad accidentally hooked Austin Dillon into the wall, or last year. And Austin Dillon mentioned that in his post-race interview today, so I don't know what the deal was. Brad said they had a tiny little dust-up off of turn 2 where they rubbed each other a little bit, but I don't know, that's kind of one of those weird instances where Nobody really knows what happened, but neither of them were happy with each other. But Martin Truex Jr. would end up winning the second stage as well. And pit strategy was a pretty big thing today, as well as track position. Martin Truex Jr., Chase Elliott, Kurt Busch, Kevin Harvick, they were the faster cars of the day. Drivers like Joe Logano, Austin Cindric, and a few other drivers tried to stay out a few times to gain that track position. And eventually the better drivers would slowly but surely make their way to the front of the field. That was the same case in the third stage. I believe Joey Logano was the leader and Kurt Busch was in second place at the time. I think they stayed out, and drivers like Martin Truex Jr., Chase Elliott, Kevin Harvick, they all pitted. Martin Truex Jr. took 2 tires, and that, for some reason, that 2-tire pit stop didn't work well with his race car, and he wasn't really able to make his way through the field as fast as Chase Elliott, Christopher Bell, and all of them. Chase Elliott was the first one to the front of the field with those fresh tires. He was able to take the lead. Christopher Bell eventually got into second place, and then Christopher Bell ended up making the pass on Chase Elliott for the lead, and he would drive away and end up getting the win. So congratulations to Christopher Bell on getting his first win of the season. He was one of those drivers that we both talked about for a one to watch because he was undefeated in the Xfinity Series, finished second here last year, so not really surprised to see him competing for the win and ending up getting it there at New Hampshire. So let me go over the top 10 with you guys and also the playoff grid because things are getting even more interesting now. So for the top 10, we have Christopher Bell, Chase Elliott, Bubba Wallace. He had a very good run today. He was up in the top 3, top 5 for most of the day. If it wasn't for like pit strategy or something like that. So great run for him and Christopher Bell. You know, they had that pit crew swap where 2 or 3 crew members switched sides, so it looks like for this race at least it was a good swap. I know last week or the week before it was a bit controversial because Christopher Bell had an issue right after that pit crew swap happened, but it looks like both teams kind of, got it together this week and each of them got a top 3 finish, so good for Bubba Wallace right there. Martin Truex Jr. finishes 4th. I bet he feels devastated after this race because it looked like he had the best car all day long until that third stage when he put those 2 tires on, won both stages, led a bunch of laps, fell a bit short. It was his race to lose and he ended up losing it, so a little bit unfortunate there for Martin Truex Jr. finishing 4th. Kevin Harvick 5th, great run for him, he was up there all day. Danny Hamlin finishes 6th. Brad Keselowski somehow rebounds to finish 7th after his dust-up with Austin Dillon and having to repair that race car. Trackhouse cars once again find their way into the top 10. Ross Chastain and Daniel Suarez, 8th and 9th, and then Kurt Busch rounds out the top 10. So, as for the playoff grid as well, Ryan Blaney is in by 105 points. Martin Truex Jr. is in by 68 points. Kevin Harvick is out by 68 points, and Eric Almirola is out by 129 points now. So, Christopher Bell winning obviously makes that playoff grid a little bit smaller. There's only 2 more spots left for winners this year, so we'll have to see how that goes. There's, I believe, 6 races left in the regular season, so we could hit that 16-win mark like you said and predicted, but didn't guarantee. But we'll have to wait and see how that ends up going. But Matthew, go ahead and give me your thoughts and reactions for this race at New Hampshire.
Well, 14 winners now. Whew. I'm telling you, my prediction with 16 winners is only getting closer and closer. Now we only have 2 spots left, and we got 7 or 6 races left, I think. Somewhere around there. But man, this season continues to have a bigger diversity when it comes to winners and teams being up front now. And now Christopher Bell has put himself in the winner's circle this year, and I'm not surprised. I'm not surprised, especially since it came at New Hampshire, because New Hampshire has been his best track on the schedule. He's won 3 races. He's won 3 years in a row or 3 races in a row in Xfinity. He has a win in the Truck Series. He finished second here in the Cup Series last year. And now he's won in this year. So This is actually really good for Christopher Bell. He's actually been really consistent this year. It's just there's been some bad luck that he's had here and there with either pit crew stuff like he did last weekend or mechanical stuff or wrecks. But he's arguably been like the most consistent driver. He's the most consistent driver of the Gibbs bunch, basically. I would put Kyle Busch up there, but not right now anymore. But yeah. So Christopher Bell, I actually didn't put it in my fantasy because I I didn't really see a lot of speed out of him, especially for practice and qualifying. So I was like, but at the end he came out at the right time, so you gotta give props to that. I definitely feel really bad for Martin Truex Jr. I mean, he had the dominant car today, hands on. It was so weird seeing him in the Interstate Batteries car. I'm like, man, all it took was the Interstate Batteries paint scheme for this guy to start dominating races again, like it's 2018. But unfortunately, with some cautions and some strategy, that kind of messed it up for him, and couldn't really recover from that. So I feel bad for Truex here. And how about Bubba Wallace, P3? This car has slowly over the season improved on the ovals. Obviously not on the road courses, and I don't see him improving on the road courses anytime soon. But on the oval side of things, that's not a super speedway. I've seen that 23 car getting better, and this time he didn't have to have any of those pit crew issues because of that swap. I think that whole pit crew swap was a win-win, actually. I was scared that for Christopher Bell, it was going to be a huge loss to him, but I think it actually paid out for both of them because Christopher Bell was able to get some of the fastest stops of the race, and Bubba Wallace didn't lose any spots, or barely lost any spots on pit road. So I think that's a win-win for those teams. And hey, that's a trade that worked out for both sides. We don't see that often, and hopefully we can see more of that from Bubba Wallace, especially in the coming weeks to Daytona. I mean, if he continues with the speed he has, he might not need Daytona to win. So, but we'll see. I'm not gonna go over there just yet. I gotta see more than that. I gotta see more if I'm gonna put him in a winning favorite for one of these races. The whole Keselowski Dillon thing, that was really strange. I mean, I don't know what happened that led to cause of that. That basically led to that. I have no idea. I just know Austin Dillon has kind of no right to be mad because he's like the most mid driver in the field right now, and he literally wants to pick a fight with Brad Keselowski. Like, come on. I mean, I know he got his butt whooped by Jeff Gordon a few years ago, but that guy can still fight whatever he wants to. So I wouldn't pick a fight with him if I was Dillon. Plus, and this is totally out of topic, I do not like his TV show. I'm sorry, but it just seems like a rip-off Talladega Nights to me. I don't understand how the most mid driver in the field deserves a TV show when there's drivers that have way more success than him that should deserve their TV shows, but they don't have them. So that's my mini rant about that. but yeah, besides that, congratulations to Christopher Bell. I thought the racing was great. I think the short track racing or shorter tracks, I mean, not all tracks are technically short tracks, but anyways, I think these type of races are improving a little bit. Like we saw, Phoenix was decent, Richmond was okay-ish, and in Martinsville we all knew how bad that was. I mean, we were freezing our butts off watching that abomination. But after that,
yeah, we were watching green flag pit stops in Martinsville in the cold. That was great. But anyways,
but after that, I think their short track for these cars, I think they're starting to get a little bit better because I thought we saw a really good race at Gateway, and this race we saw a really good race. We saw the bottom lane work and we saw the high lane work. So I think these races are starting to improve with the shorter tracks with these cars. So that's a great improvement right there. And but yeah, um, great race. Congratulations to Christopher Bell. Remember, Christopher Bell is a graduate from KBU, which is Kyle Busch University. As we know how those drivers graduate. They tend to become really good winners. Not all of them are able to graduate though. Some of them flunk out. So, yeah, that's another Kyle Busch graduate right there in victory lane today.
Yeah, they tend to make good winners, but they don't tend to stay with Joe Gibbs Racing in the Cup Series, you know. But anyways, all I'm gonna say is they better hold on to Christopher Bell. They need somebody young to stay there.
Well, maybe if teams had more Toyotas, maybe they would.
But anyways, we'll go ahead and rate this race and give you all our fantasy update, and then we'll get on out of here. So for me, I think I'll give it a I'll give it a 7 out of 10. You know, I thought it was a great race for the package. Kind of like you said, the smaller tracks haven't had the best racing so far this year up until Gateway and now New Hampshire. So I don't think it was as good as Gateway. You know, obviously there's more stuff going on at Gateway that made that race a little bit more exciting to watch. But from a racing perspective, I thought it was great. You could use multiple lanes. Chase Elliott was really starting to use the bottom of the racetrack, which you don't usually see there at New Hampshire, and a lot of other drivers tried to use it. So I thought it was great. You could use multiple lanes. You could pass. It was a little bit hard to pass, but you could still get the job done. So I'll give it a 7 out of 10. So Matthew, what are you gonna rate this race from New Hampshire?
I'm going to give this race an 8 out of 10. I thought this race was just as good as Gateway, in my opinion. I thought the racing was great. I loved there was multiple lanes, and even though it wasn't no spectacular green white checkered finish, I thought it was still a great race. So 8 out of 10 for me.
Alright, so we're going to wrap the video up with our fantasy points. So for this race, I ended up getting 244 points. You got 210 points. I think I had all 5 of my drivers were in the top 10 as far as points earned were concerned. I did have Christopher Bell. Thankfully, I kept him in my lineup. I was debating on taking him out, putting other drivers in, and all of that stuff, but I'm glad I stayed with what I got. So I did end up getting the most points. As for total points, I have 3,657. You have 3,620. So I have a 37-point lead as we head into Pocono next week. So Matthew, do you have any other closing thoughts before we go ahead and wrap this episode up?
Yeah. Well, I hope Pocono will be a good race next weekend. I mean, I have high expectations, especially with these bigger tracks on the schedule producing amazing racing, like that mile and a half or bigger tracks. Hopefully Pocono delivers, but let's just be optimistic here. I mean, Pocono's not really known for crazy racing. It's mostly all about fuel mileage there, so we'll see how that race goes.
Yeah, but the fuel mileage races, they're the fun races. We don't see too many of those anymore. And honestly, the races at Pocono weren't that bad last year either, because we had the whole Kyle Larson blown tire thing, and then wasn't the other one a fuel mileage race, the one Kyle Busch won, I think? So it wasn't too bad last year.
With a broken transmission, too.
Didn't he do that as he came to the checkered flag or something? But
no, he had a broken transmission during the race.
Oh.
He was stuck in fourth gear, I think.
Oh. I don't think I watched that full race, but
hey, that's the 550 package back then, man. You will fall asleep and not remember what happened until the end.
That is fair. But thankfully, we have the next gen car and the 670 horsepower package, which has done wonders this year. So hopefully Pocono will be a good race. But that's going to go ahead and wrap it up for this video. We hope you all enjoyed it. Let us know down in the comment section down below what you thought of the race, what you thought of the whole Brad Keselowski, Austin Dillon situation, and all of that stuff. But make sure you guys stay tuned to our social media pages and all of that for updates. But until next time, we will see you guys in our next video.